The Watermark at the Pearl offers a pet-friendly urban environment for older adults that also includes on-site wellness and dining. Located in Portland's vibrant Pearl District, the Watermark redefines expectations for senior living. Every day brings enriching opportunities to live fully with connection, creativity, meaning, and purpose. So if you or a loved one are looking for independent or assisted living and/or memory care, visit portlandwatermark.com today. Your story continues at the Watermark at the Pearl. Breakside Brewery is having a month-long holiday pop-up at their Deacom location in Northeast Portland. It's open every day, 11:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. Each week has different themes, from home for the holidays to a very trashy Christmas. And there's also festive food and events like bingo and wreath making and pictures with the Grinch. It's open to all ages. No reservations are required. For more details, head over to breakside.com/events. That's breakside.com/events. Today on CityCast Portland, we're looking into the twists and turns of how and why the Portland Housing Bureau Director, a leading expert on affordable housing, was fired by our mayor, and what that move says about the continuing power struggle between the city's administration and city council. Plus, we're diving into our mailbag and hearing from you, our listeners. Joining me on this midweek roundup is Portland Mercury's housing and homelessness reporter, Jeremiah Hayden, and our very own senior producer, Julia Fiaioni. It's Wednesday, December 10th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Welcome, everyone, to our midweek roundup. Today is the day we catch up on news that we might have missed out on late last week or over the weekend. And the big local headline I wanted to talk through today was how the director of Portland's Housing Bureau was supposedly told to hide millions in unspent funding by our city's administration before she was forced to resign. It's a lot to unpack. And normally I have a producer come on and we talk through it, but today I wanted to do something a little different. I actually have the Portland Mercury reporter who broke the story here with us, Jeremiah Hayden. Jeremiah, welcome to the show.
Hi, Claudia. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is exciting. Usually we hold off on the reporters and we unleash you on the Friday roundup.
Yeah. Well, we love coming in on a Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. But before I hand it over to you, Jeremiah, who, by the way, has quite the story to share, I wanted to quickly mention that we are just halfway through our membership campaign, and we really need your support if you want us to continue bringing you this podcast. I mean, in addition to all of our episodes about food and culture, fake hating Seattle, we also bring you interviews with local leaders where you find out they're actual humans with real personalities, not just talking heads that speak only in news bites. We're also making it possible for you to hear from actual reporters who are writing the important stories that are holding local government accountable, like Jeremiah here. So when you become a CityCast Portland neighbor, you're not just supporting the show, you're joining a community that's actively trying to make this city better, more relatable, more human. And there are also perks like ad-free listening and invites to members-only events where we explore the city, meet each other in real life. All this is just $10 a month or $100 a year. And if you sign up this week, we're also throwing in a cool new beanie. You can join us at membership.citycast.fm for all of this and more. That's membership.citycast.fm. All right, Jeremiah, thanks for hanging tough on that. Let's get into all the drama surrounding the resignation of Helmy Hizrich. Now, that's the former director of the Portland Housing Bureau. Here's what I know. So I remember when Shane Dixon Kavanaugh from the Oregonian reported about the $21 million that the Portland Housing Bureau had supposedly been sitting on just a couple weeks ago, but it kind of got lost in the shuffle with a holiday. But in his article, he did note, maybe you saw this too, that the same day Wilson's administration shared, hey, we found this $21 million at the city council meeting. News also broke that the director for the Portland Housing Bureau was also pretty much forced to resign after having been placed on leave by Mayor Keith Wilson. And that's important to note. And then Thanksgiving happened, didn't think about it again. And then bam, last week, your story broke about this 10-page memo that Hizrich wrote to city council stating she was told to keep quiet about the money. And you even found more background information on her forced resignation. So what happened?
Right. It is a little complicated. And, I will say that I learned about it the same place you did from the Oregonian,
Yeah.
that there was this sort of, missing $21 million. And that's partly true that it was missing and unaccounted, sort of unaccounted for. But, this memo that Hisarich sent to the city council is very interesting because it tells a pretty different story. I think it's reasonable that people might expect, oh, the director of this bureau just got fired and there's all of this money. She was clearly hiding the ball.
Exactly.
And her story is quite different. It's worth noting that she's the person who found this money. She asked for the audit. City Councilor Eric Zimmerman, as early as June, said, hey, what's going on with these, rental services fees? Where do they go? And she said, hey, let me go find out. She ordered an audit. That took some time. And she told her boss, the deputy city administrator, Donnie Oliveira, that there was, between 10, maybe $20 million in there that was there from before her time. She started in 2024. These are funds that collected from 2021 to 2024. She, at sort of the advice of the, financial team at the Housing Bureau, she wanted to reserve $9 million, basically, an annual budget for that office.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was about $12 million to spend on various things. They take care of a lot of eviction protection, things that kind of keep people in housing. And, by the time that the city council was doing this budget stuff, the fall tow, they call it, this, sort of uneventful annual budget adjustment, the city was really looking for, ways to fill this $16 million gap. And this never came up. This is something that
Didn't the deputy city administrator, Donnie Oliveira, didn't they tell her, you shouldn't bring it up, it's going to be a whole PR thing?
Yeah, and that's sort of that is the central point, is that she said, should I go tell the city council about this? And should I tell Eric Zimmerman, the person who first asked me to do it?
Before they do the budget adjustment, by the way, before the budget, right? Because they're just like, they're looking for money. We have this money. I'm setting 9 aside. Eric was asking about it because of this meeting coming up. And the city administrator, who reports to the mayor, was just like, it's going to be a whole thing. Don't do it. Which is...
Let's not. Yeah.
Which is shady as fuck. So, I know you can't say that. Shady. You can't say that, but I can say that. That's shady as fuck. And so go on. And then what happened?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, so then the question kind of becomes that classic, juicy thing of like, what did you know and when did you know it? And, the question that sort of arises is, when did the mayor first learn about this? And I learned from, the mayor's office that he knew as early as September that this money existed.
Wow.
I think there's a little bit of a thing that is, maybe happening here where that includes the budget office. It includes the city administrator, Michael Jordan, Mayor Wilson, Donnie Oliveira, is a central character here. All of them, might try to argue that they didn't know about this $9 million in reserve funds. But there's sort of classically, bureaus will hold funds so that they can continue to exist into the future. And this being a big PR problem is, it seems to be a big PR problem now.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And so I'm not sure what was avoided by not bringing that up in August or September or October or November.
Right. Well, the other thing that I found interesting in the memo, because again, Helmi Hisarich wrote a 10-page memo to city council post being fired. And really, because she wanted to clear her name. She was like, I know what's happening. They announced the money to you guys. They announced my firing. They're trying to make a connection. And I need you to know. I'm not asking for my job back. I just need you to know the truth. But there was more in this 10-page memo. There was a path. Like, she kind of connected the dots to basically say, hey, our mayor didn't want you to do the work that you want to do. Basically talking to city council saying, hey, you created certain policies. They're not following them. I was trying to put forth your policy work that was voted in, that you did, all that, and they're ignoring it. I mean, that was just one part. Could you explain that friction just a little bit more?
Right. I think this is something that you've talked about, on this show a handful of times, is this friction between the administration's goals and the city council's goals. And they have somewhat clear roles, but they do sort of get a little bit blurry in there. But one thing that's very clear is that the city council adopted this resolution in April that directed the city administrator to explore social housing models as a solution to the city's affordable housing and homelessness crisis.
Right.
And his search was tapped to lead the study. Portland Housing Bureau is going to deliver this report. People will remember that city councilors and other city staffers went to Vienna, Austria to study this. Helmi Hizerich is, it's worth noting, like an international expert on this stuff. She led $1 billion housing program in Los Angeles, introducing all these social housing models and systems there.
She ran a think
And
tank on social housing, didn't like she ran a think tank. I just want to underline like how qualified this person is to do this study and also come to Portland and have this job, honestly.
right. Few people are as qualified as she is to create a model of affordable housing in the city. I think a lot of people saw this as a real blunder by the administration to get rid of her in the first place, because everyone understands that housing and homelessness is the top issue in our city. And if you've taken the person out of that position who's probably the most qualified, maybe in the world, it seems a little suspicious. But as we know, and as you've spoken about here too, the mayor's shelter plan, he's laser focused on
Mhm.
that. He really wants these temporary shelters. And those two things, in speaking with Hisrich, like they don't necessarily have to be in contrast to each
Yeah, it's
other.
not
They
an
can
either
work
or, it's
together.
both. Yeah.
It is both. You have to have this long-term solution. I'm not sure if the long-term solution is to have no affordable housing and then just have people in overnight shelters and then walking around during the day or what. They don't
Yeah.
have to be in contrast. But taking her out of that position, she feels was a way of sort of killing the social housing thing that she knows best. And that's sort of how she sees that, and that this is a good excuse for them, or appears to be a good excuse for them, to get rid of her, as if she was hiding the ball. Again, and I'll leave you with this sort of quote from her. She said, "I think I should have been thanked for finding money that was stuck in the system. Instead, I'm being vilified for it."
Right. The other thing that I remember her saying is how she basically had no prior verbal or written warning because she was like basically put on leave, paid leave October 30th. So that's a long time to not be invited back to the office. She also said that she was routinely left out of big meetings. The administration was like purposefully leaving her out of this big thing because I think the whole time the mayor was just, again, horse blinders on. I have to reach my 1,500 goal because I said I would. Even though at this
Yes.
point we're just like, and now what?
Yeah.
So I think that to me, I'm just like, she could. There might be like, if she wanted to get petty, she could litigate. She said she's not going to. That's the other thing that was part of the memo. She's like, hey, I just need you to know, I don't want my job back. I'm not going to sue, whatever. But FYI, this was so wrong. Like the way I was
Right.
let go was so wrong. It made no sense. And also, this is what the mayor's doing, FYI. And just kind of like calling it
Right.
out. Like, before I leave, heads up, like, this is what's happening.
Right. When I first got this and started reading it, I really thought, I read a lot of these documents, and I really thought, like, what a gift to sort of have things spelled out so clearly. It's worth noting that people may kind of think, why didn't she say something about this? She was told not to talk to the city councilor by her boss, Donnie Oliveira. She asked if she should do that, and he said no. And then, the other piece of this is within those 3 weeks while she was on leave is when this story came out,
Hmm.
through the Oregonian, as if she had sort of like hid the ball during that time frame
Hmm.
too, as the fall budget adjustment stuff was happening. But she was, legally required to not speak with anyone from the city while she was on leave during that time.
Wow.
So literally there was nothing during that time that she could have done, legally, to let anyone know about this thing. And so to kind of then get laid off without cause, and it's a little scandalous.
It's more than a little scandalous. It actually immediately makes me wonder what's going on. I mean, I know, Jeremiah, when we're talking about this just on the phone, you're like, this has a lot of implications. There's like a lot of what this could mean. You're continuing to look into the story, you're looking at next steps, all that. Like, can you just tell us what you're thinking?
You know, City Councilor Mitch Green has sort of floated the idea that the City Council has not yet used its oversight powers at all. And this is exactly the kind of thing that the City Council, under this new charter, it's, a year young, not even. It's the kind of thing that they are supposed to do, is sort of hold other elected officials and other bureau people accountable for the actions that they take. And firing someone without cause, all of these sort of mysterious things that have taken place seems to be something that they want to look into. I'm curious to hear how they go about that. I think there's a lot of government making right now. There are gaps in this new charter that need to be filled. And I think we're going to see some of that stuff start to happen a little bit. So I'm curious. I'm really curious to see how it goes.
Right. Well, Jeremiah, thank you so much for looking into this, because this is I want people to understand, like, this is kind of a big deal. Like, everyone's writing about this right now because they're just like, hold up.
Well, for listeners, I mean, it's, maybe there's nothing more boring than a housing bureau and like an administrator and this kind of stuff, just like bureaucracy. But this is where some pretty wild stuff happens sometimes. And, once you kind of get into it, I think I'm with you. I'm a little on the edge of my seat and trying to figure out, what's going to come next and what can we find.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Jeremiah, for hanging out with us this Wednesday morning. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to dive into our mailbag.
So if you're running out of time looking for that perfect holiday gift, especially for someone who's long distance, Aura frames might be just the thing. Not only is it one of the best looking digital frames out there, but it has been named the #1 digital frame by Wirecutter, The Strategist, Wired, and PC Mag. I actually sent one myself as a gift for my mom, and she loves it. I'll send her pics, she can send them to me. You can even upload videos to the frame. And right now, for a limited time, you can save on this perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com and getting $35 off their best-selling Carver matte frames. You just have to use promo code CityCast when you check out. That's auraframes.com and use the promo code CityCast. Now, this deal is exclusive to our listeners, and the frames do sell out. So order yours now to make sure you get it in time for the holidays. And please, support the show by using that promo code CityCast at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. The idea of learning a new language can be scary. I felt overwhelmed by that. I bet you have too. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and studies show that up to 90% of people trying to learn a new language give up. 90%. Fortunately, Babbel's built so it's really easy to get started and really easy to stick with it. They understand that people learn differently. So maybe you can dive into a podcast on Babbel when you don't feel like a quick lesson, or you can speak out loud to get practice in, or you can explore courses based on specific topics and even create your own customized review lists, all within the Babbel app. Babbel has made learning a language all about small steps with real wins and progress you can actually track and feel. Bite-sized lessons that fit easily into your daily routine and are also easy to remember. Just 10 minutes a day is enough to start seeing real results. I've been learning Spanish with Babbel, and it's helped when I've traveled in Mexico, and it helps me eavesdrop on my son and my girlfriend when they speak Spanish to try to fool me. No más, mi corazón. However you learn best, by listening, speaking, reading, or writing, Babbel adapts to your style and keeps you motivated with personalized learning plans, real-time feedback, and progress tracking. And right now, here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
It's executive producer John Notarianni here. You know, I love Portland, and I never feel more connected to this city than I do on a cold, rainy night this time of year, when you duck into a warm restaurant and find that the room is just alive with conversation and laughter. That feeling of connection with the city is why we created the CityCast Portland Neighbors program. CityCast Portland Neighbors is a way to support this podcast and keep it going, but it's also a way of getting more out of this city that we all love. When you're a CityCast Portland neighbor, you get an early look at the events that are coming up around town, a chance to shout out local nonprofits or businesses that you love, and you get to join us for members-only experiences around the city. Stuff like our upcoming Neighbors Night that's happening at the Hollywood Theater. It's a deeper way of living in Portland and a way of making local your top priority. You can join the CityCast Portland Neighbors program by going to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. And you'll get a Portland beanie. Pretty cool.
All right, we're back, and Julia's joining us for the mailbag portion because she's so much better at reading than I am, Jeremiah.
It's true.
So we got actually quite a bit of mail from our Seattle versus Portland episode that we did last Tuesday.
Yeah.
If you missed out on it, CityCast Seattle's host, Jane C. Hu, joined me for just a friendly, spirited debate on why our respective cities are better. It was some fake beef we decided to start for our own amusement.
Yeah, but it certainly caught on because we actually had a Seattle listener write in. So this is from Cooper E. Regarding food, not gonna lie, Portland has this locked in. When I see a Portland-based eatery like Voodoo Donuts or Salt and Straw infiltrate Seattle, I'm like, thank you for this blessing upon our city.
Can we pause there? I read that and I could not tell if he was being facetious or not. Do you know what I mean?
That's why I took that tone, because I'm like, there's maybe a little bit of sarcasm here.
It could be sarcastic. Sorry, go on.
But that could very well just be our Portland perspective on those two businesses specifically. But so Cooper thinks Seattle might have won the nature category. He says the Cascades and the Olympics in one panorama, the insane geology of the Scablands and Dry Falls, plus, let's be honest, the Columbia River likes our side better. Oof. And culturally, Cooper thinks both cities have a rich legacy, but ended his note by saying, Seattle is perhaps responsible for more harm done to the world as a whole than Portland is. In closing, I have good friends in both cities, and I love how close we are. Heart emoji.
Aw. Jeremiah.
It's a very thorough breakdown.
Yeah, I know. It's so sweet.
Yeah.
Do you agree with what Cooper said here, Jeremiah, at all?
Well, there's a handful of things there. I think that they have, the wrong Amazon, if we're talking about nature, in Seattle. I think they're sort of headquarters up there, speaking of doing the damage to the world. So I don't know, that's like kind of minus 1 point or 10, but I will be honest, I love Seattle. I got married in Seattle. I think it's a beautiful city. I think there's a real kinship there. Portland, this is going to hurt some feelings, but Portland has an NBA basketball team, which kind of is cool.
Yeah.
But I love a Seattle dog, though.
Yeah.
I'll eat a Seattle dog.
Jeremiah loves cream cheese with his hot dogs.
So, yeah.
That's what he loves. He loves a nice street dog with cream cheese, just sat out for hours. So actually, Gray J wrote in, going hard, point by point, refuting mostly what James had said about Seattle being a sports town. He also punched below the belt and was just like, I'm sorry, where's your NBA team? Oh, yeah, Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's a little low. It's a little low. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but it's true. He also mentioned the number of sold-out Timbers and Thorns games and how they feel like full-blown parties compared to Seattle Sounders and Reigns home games, which also rarely sell out, and that's true. He also mentioned the sports bra, which proves we have a superior women's sports scene. And he also, might be a stretch, but it was funny, so I'm allowing it. He credits Pendleton, Oregon for actually being the true creators of grunge, since he claims most flannels that were thrifted in the 90s were probably made there.
That's hilarious.
But he ended his note by saying, fun rivalry aside, I love Seattle. The entirety of the Pacific Northwest is one of the most incredible spots on the planet, no matter where you're standing. And gotta agree.
Yeah, I also have another one here from Nick C. So he says, I have so much skin in the game. Holy shit. Born in Seattle, all my extended family live throughout the Seattle region. It seems like I'm there once a month at this rate. I'm constantly comparing them in my brain. Seattle has got us on views, so many hills and precipices, Olympics, Cascades, Rainier, Lake Washington, Puget Sound. It's overwhelming. However, Portland just feels snug, tucked against the Tualatin Hills and in between the Coast Range and Mount Hood. We are a quintessential valley town. It feels like I'm a few seconds from getting fully wrapped in a burrito of mist and evergreens. Think Twilight. He also made a reference to a song in Twilight he titled simply Hoa Hoa, which I don't know what that is.
It's a thing. I looked it up.
Just throwing it
'cause
out there.
He actually said he was wrapped in a burrito of Hoa Hoa mist and evergreens. And then and I was just like, I'm sorry, what are you saying? So I looked it up.
What's going on?
And there's a whole meme of this one song that's like, Hoa Hoa. It's just really silly.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was for the Twilight heads. That was
for all of you out there. So this is the last little bit from Nick here. So he goes on to say, we beat Seattle with our more unified transit because they have something like 20 transit agencies with different ticketing systems, and we obviously just have one TriMet. However, he finds it easier to take transit from inner Seattle to the suburbs, which I've done that so many times in Portland. It's not as, I would say it could be easier.
It could be easier for sure.
Yes, could be easier. And as a civil engineer, he thinks Portland has better sidewalks. And he went into great detail about this. He included pictures and measurements. So we're just going to trust him when he says that. We do have better sidewalks, apparently, when they're there, I will say, because they're not always there.
Raleigh.
Oh, but it's true.
It's true.
Yeah. I have the last one here, and this one actually is from a new member. Just to bring it back, we're taking members. If you wanted to become a member, this is your time. We usually close it, and then we're just like, because it's a private little club, you know.
We're picky about
We're very picky about our members, but we're just like, December, all right,
just give a little.
I'm thinking like a very fancy club, and we're just like, all right, how many? 10 of you. Come on in. But anyhow, a member wrote in, the podcast genuinely changed my life. I lived in Seattle from 2008 to 2020. Then my partner and I moved to Richland, Washington in February to try to escape the rat race and pretentious vibe. It was terrible timing right before the pandemic hit. While the wide open skies were nice, Richland never felt like our people or our vibe. I was bored, isolated, and honestly pretty depressed. I found CityCast in the winter of 2023, and at that point, I'd been quietly fantasizing about moving back to a city with more culture, but I didn't know how to bring it up to my partner. Listening to CityCast made it feel like I was in a room with friends, laughing, learning about local politics, and discovering fun things to do. Those 30 minutes a day lifted my spirits and gave me the confidence and real reasons I needed to ask if we could consider moving. I brought it up, and that weekend we drove into the city just to explore. We soaked in the culture we've been missing, and very impulsively, but completely right, we made an offer on a house. Can you imagine visiting a city and then just having the resources to be like, I'll have that one. But
that's amazing.
I know. And then,
right?
this piece, I was just like, wow, this is so magical. It was like meant to be. We moved to Portland on 503 Day, May 3rd, 2024. What a magical day that I now assign a ton of importance to. Thank you. I have so much love and gratitude for how this podcast pulled me out of a dark, stagnant place and gave me the push to choose a life that feels like home. Keep up the incredible work. Oh, and by the way, Seattle versus Portland. Portland wins every time. No contest. Carrie Z. That's a mic drop right there.
Damn.
Nice.
There's nothing left to say.
That was like, seriously, like, can we, like, we're done. Like, that was the points we needed.
Nobody's going up to Seattle for a visit and putting an offer on a house. That's only that's only a Portland thing.
True.
Oh my God. Well, before we head out, we do have some shout outs from members of our Portland Neighbors program. That's a program we're trying to get you to become members of here. One of the perks of being a paying member of CityCast Portland is the opportunity to shout out a local business or organization that you love on the podcast, on the newsletter. Julia, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah, I'll show you how it's done right now. So this one is from Alex C. And they say, as a fitness instructor's kid, I always avoided gyms, but the dance party vibes and supportive community at Pulse PDX on Northeast Sandy just hits different. And I have to say, I did live right down the street from this place. And every single time I'd walk past it, I'd be like, what's going on in there? I want to, someone invite me. It sounds like a blast.
Oh, man. Well, Michael B., not Jordan, says, I want to shout out the 26 Cafe on Northeast 7th and Knott. Great coffee, drinks, great food, great people, 2 outdoor hangout spots, as well as interior chill sitting. And I would be remiss if I did not mention their always remarkable art gallery on their south wall, from which I have added a couple of pieces to my own space. Jeremiah, you're nodding your head. Is this your hangout?
That was my old neighborhood. I live out in like East Portland now, but that little strip is very cool right there. And I think it's a little underappreciated, but there's a few little things. The market, there's a little bar next door, little coffee shop. That's a great little spot. You almost feel like you're getting out of town for a minute.
Yeah, I love that area too.
Well, thanks to the shout outs, Alec and Michael, and a huge thanks to our newest members, Bryce K, Dean W, Teresa W, Stephanie C, and of course, Carrie Z. When you join as a Portland neighbor, we'd also be happy to read out your shout outs of places you love in Portland, in addition to all the perks I mentioned, like ad-free listening. And remember, if you sign up this week, you're going to get a sweet, sweet new beanie. Join us at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. Julia, Jeremiah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. This was awesome. Maybe we should do this more often. Just pack one reporter in on a Wednesday.
Yeah, why not? Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this show, share it with a friend or rate and leave us a good review. It really helps us out. And don't forget, you can support this show and get some great perks by becoming a CityCast neighbor. Just visit membership.citycast.fm for all the details. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you with Slims.